I'm John Batchelor. David Livingston, Dr. Space of The Space Show, joins me on Hotel Mars. We're going a Viking. Well, that's an old-fashioned way of saying we're going robbing the English. However, David is more than just going a Viking. David is a genuine space pirate. There he is, putting on his space goggles, going plundering our solar system for private gain. It's David Livingston's opinion that the first time he comes across an asteroid entirely made of titanium, it's his. And he can do with what he wants, including selling it, trading it, or just parking on it. David, a very good evening to you, old space pirate, and I welcome our colleague Michael Listner, who's a space lawyer, principal of Space Law and Policy Solutions at spacesolutions.com. Michael, a very good evening to you. Recently, a commercial space bill had in it a little detail for pirates like Livingston. It was about asteroid rights. What did it say, and what is the conflict? Good evening to you, Michael.
Good evening, John, and good evening to you too, Pirate Livingston. The question you ask is a good question, because right now the way this asteroid resource and space resource provision of the Commercial Space Act is apparently to create a use of resources that are exploited by U.S. citizens. Now, a little background. In the first article of the Outer Space Treaty, there's a provision that says for the province of all mankind. Now, there's been a customary, over the past few years, the U.S. has been developing a custom to allow this province of all mankind to actually include commercial exploitation. And what this provision is supposed to do is actually create that use. However, my opinion is that, I'm just looking at it in the way it's written, it might actually create a space property right. Now, if that's the case, if it creates a space property right, then it could conflict with the Outer Space Treaty in terms of in terms of Article 2, in terms of national appropriation. That's the question.
All right, Dr. Space, conflict. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'm not the pirate you say, because I don't think that it's a very significant thing either way, because there's no technology to pull any of this off. But, Michael, would this be enforceable to someone other than a U.S. citizen? Would someone in England or France or the ESA, would they care about this?
Well, I think they would care about this, because right now the way this is written, this only applies to U.S. citizens. In fact, it's quite specific in Section 51303 that a United States citizen engaged in commercial recovery. And so basically, this is basically the government granting a right to U.S. citizens, but no foreign citizens.
We have a detail, I believe, in the commercial space bill that it's more than asteroid rights. It's planets as well, right, Michael? If a private citizen lands on, say Mars, and plants a stake, something like the gold rush of the 49ers, you can stake out your territory and it's yours to exploit.
I don't know if that's exactly what it says, and this is where the vagueness comes in. Now, if this does indeed create a use as they purport it does, then chances are that's going to be developed over time to explain exactly what a use constitutes. But if this inadvertently creates a property right, then it's void anyway. It's basically void because it would conflict with Article 2 of the Outer Space Treaty. But the question is, in my opinion, it creates a real property right, but the proponents are saying it creates a use.
I'm totally flummoxed by this. Wait, if you can use it, isn't that the same as a property right? I mean, if you're extracting minerals, let's just be hypothetical here, and you're selling them or selling the rights to them, and you're taking money for it, isn't that the same as property? They're making a false distinction.
Well, see, that's the thing. With the distinction they're trying to make in Article 1 with the provision for all mankind is that use includes commercial development of resources recovered. But you make a very valid point, and this is my concern, and what I've been making a little bit of noise about is the way that it's written, it basically looks like it creates a real property right. In fact, the way the proponents have been promoting this, they've been comparing it to the Homesteading Act of 1882.
Right. Very good. Yes, right.
And that was a distinct sovereign taking of territory and granting it to settlers going out west. So that's where the confusion lies, in which says, well, you know what? If this is a use, why are you comparing it to a real property, a sovereign exercise control over real property? But if it's a use, I mean, it's very confusing, and this is where I think they could have fleshed things out a little bit better.
Dr. Space, I challenge your presumption that we don't have the technical ability to do this. Certainly, within the lifetimes of people listening to us, the robots are completely capable of extracting resources from asteroids and planets.
Correct, but the propulsion to get there, the economics to do it, closing a business case, are you going to try to bring this stuff back to Earth? And that's another whole set of economic issues and challenges to cover. The best use for all these resources is in space. In situ resources is what they're called, but we don't have a spacefaring economy to be able to use space in situ resources, although I do think at some point, 10, 15, maybe a little bit longer years out, we will. And my opinion is that what the regulations will look like as the industry emerges and evolves will probably be somewhat different than what it looks like.
All right,
today,
let's try this. Michael, are they building a foundation here that can be changed or challenged, or does this become the Chancery Court? Are we wandering into Dickens here?
I think that I believe my impression is they're doing this so that they can at least show their investors that they are starting to form the basis of a legal framework, so that their investors say, okay, we think this may actually work, we'll invest money. This isn't the do all or end all, and I really, if this is actually a use per Article 1 and not a property right, it definitely, in my opinion, needs to be fleshed out.
There are a couple of companies. Aren't there more than one, David? Companies that have already formed to propose.
There's two very strong American companies, but they do seek investment, including foreign investors, deep space resources.
And where were they in this, Michael? Were they lobbying for it, against it? Certainly, they have an opinion.
Yes, they were lobbying for it.
Very strong for it.
All right. So we've created space. It's not even international corporations. We've created interstellar corporations that are going to plunder the solar system just the way they plundered the Wild West once upon a time. Right, Michael? We're going to recreate colonization.
Well, the problem is the perception that they're giving by comparing it to the Wild West and to the Homestead Act of 1862 is giving that image, and I think that really is counterproductive if what they're really trying to do here is create a use and not a property right. And that gets back to my confusion. If they're making that comparison, and I read this looks like a property right to me. I could be wrong.
All right,
I hope I'm wrong.
But if David,
yes,
you say you're not a pirate. You're on the side of the pirates. They lobbied for this. Certainly, they see an advantage to it. They've already they've staked out the territory in law in the U.S. Congress.
I do believe that at some point we should figure out a way to have space property rights if commercial space is going to thrive beyond what it is today.
And get funded. I mean, Michael...
And gets funded.
Right, this is a way to raise money.
But I don't think that that this is a precursor to that. But I do think it will help companies, as Michael says, raise some capital. It'll sort of show that, look, maybe there is a legal foundation for some of this. But Michael, they have a use right in the Outer Space Treaty already. If you're entitled to the fruits.
We just have 30 seconds. Go ahead, Michael. You want to comment?
Well, that's what I discussed in Article 1, and that's what they tried to that's what they were trying to flesh out here. But like I told you, the way it reads, it also kind of reads like a property right.
All right, so it's sloppily written to the favor of the capitalists. What a surprise! The capitalism and solar system. Michael Listner, principal of Space Law and Policy Solutions. That's spacelawsolutions.com. David Livingston, Dr. Space. He's a friendly pirate of the Space Show. I'm John Batchelor. This is Hotel Mars Episode N.